Pioneers are explorers. Pioneers are innovators. Pioneers are leaders. We are Marietta College. We are pioneers. Find out how you can become a PIO at www.marietta.edu.
Coming up today on NewsCenter 15, New Zealand wants to tax farmers for their cows' gassy emissions.
And there's a new record for the world's heaviest pumpkin.
We'll have these stories and more. NewsCenter 15 starts now. Good afternoon and welcome to Wednesday's edition of NewsCenter 15. I'm Caleb Bland.
And I'm Isabel Poling.
Topping our news this afternoon, Russian missiles attack caused a crippled nuclear plant in Ukraine to lose all external power for the second time in 5 days, increasing the risk of a radiation disaster because electricity is needed to operate critical safety systems, Ukraine's state nuclear operator said Wednesday. All 6 of the reactors were stopped earlier due to the war, but they still require electricity to prevent them from overheating to the point of a meltdown that could cause radiation to pour from Europe's largest nuclear plant. Energoatom said diesel generators were supplying the plant, but Russian troops blocked a convoy carrying additional fuel for the backup equipment.
The Navy's Special Warfare Command has reprimanded 3 officers in the connection with the February death of a SEAL candidate who collapsed and died of acute pneumonia just hours completing the grueling Hell Week test. Commanders did not directly blame the officers for the death of the SEAL candidate Kyle Mullen, and no one has been fired, but a Navy investigation into his death has triggered a number of changes in how sailors are monitored during the physically and mentally exhausting test, and has prompted the command to seek and conduct expanded testing for performance-enhancing drugs. Mullen, 24, from Monopolin, Jersey, died on the line of duty, note to do his own misconduct. It is said that he had an enlarged heart that also contributed to his death, which came soon after he successfully finished Hell Week. The 5.5-day test that comes during the first phase of assessment for SEAL candidates striving to get into the basic underwater demolition class. The training was at the Naval Special Warfare Training Center in Colorado, California.
Hey, I wonder what the weather looks like today.
Here to provide a first look at our current condition is Landon.
Well, thank you, Isabella. Well, it looks like for today we have a case of history repeating itself. As much like this time last week, we are experiencing the warmest day of the year with cloudy conditions and an expected high of 73. Right now it feels like 68 outside, so it's once again abnormally warm for this time of year. The UV index is at a moderate level, slightly lower than last week at 3. The pollen level is very low, so low allergy count. That's good to know. The winds will be running around the south at 7 miles per hour, and that's going to have a bit of an effect on us later on this evening and later on in the week, especially thanks to the humidity being raised to a staggering 80%. And the way the winds and the humidity are going to have an effect on us is that later on this evening, especially into tomorrow, we're going to have a bit of a downpour of rain after having a bit of a dry spell for roughly the last week or so. So get your umbrellas ready for tonight. We'll talk a little bit more about how this precipitation is going to affect us for the rest of the week going into the weekend when I return later on for the 5-day forecast. And until then, back to you guys at the desk.
Twitter and Instagram have blocked Kanye West over anti-Semitic posts. Both social media platforms claimed on Sunday that Kanye violated their policies. Kanye once suggested that slavery was a choice, and earlier this week he wore a White Lives Matter t-shirt. Those close to Kanye have stopped publicly defending him, including his ex-wife Kim Kardashian. A recent statement said there is no excuse for his propagating of white supremacist slogans and classic skepticism about Jewish power, especially with the platform he has. New Zealand wants to tax farmers for their cows' burps and farts.
At least 2 killed in Iran as security forces intensify crackdown over protests.
Stay with us.
Hey, this is Kevin Love from the Cleveland Cavaliers. Right now, many of us feel anxious. Mindfulness can help you ease those feelings. My nonprofit is partnering with Headspace to offer free content to help you stress less. Head to kevinlovefund.org/headspace.
Here's to the straggly ones, the first ones. But hey, I look good with this ones. The black, brown, red, and gray ones. The itchy ones. The ones grown by Dad. The ones grown for Dad. The I nearly didn't do it this year ones, and the absolutely filthy ones. They all raise awareness, raise funds, start conversations, and save lives. Because whatever you grow will save a bro. Learn more at Movember.com.
Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern pushed a proposal to make farmers pay for their livestock's emissions to combat climate change. When the cows pass gas and burp, they emit methane, a potent greenhouse gas. The country has about 10 million cattle and 25 million sheep. This is an important step forward in New Zealand's transition to a low-emissions future and delivers on our promise agriculture emissions from 2025. Ardern said on Tuesday we'll know in November if the proposal passes.
Iran's security forces shot at protesters and used tear gas in the Kurdish cities of Sanajah and Saqqez in fresh protests on Saturday afternoon, as weeks of nationwide demonstrations gathered momentum. In Sanajah, security forces shot and killed a driver in his car, while in one of the schools in Saqqez, 2 teachers were injured, according to the Iran human rights group Henga.
A woman in Germany drove a smart car into an elevator shaft after she mistook it for a parking spot and plunged down 35 feet. The 38-year-old woman survived the crash and managed to save herself by climbing out of the window while calling the firemen.
New U.S. record set for heaviest pumpkin. A teacher from Minnesota set the new record for the U.S. in having the heaviest pumpkin that weighed 2,056 pounds. He is from Northern California and worked tremendously hard on seeing his hard work pay off and winning the 49th World Championship way off in Half Moon Bay, south of San Francisco.
Coming up, the world's first space tourist has signed up to spin around the moon.
We'll also get the latest news from Hollywood.
And while it's very warm and dry in the day, we'll start experiencing some cold and wetness in the evening. Stay tuned when I return for the 5-day forecast.
Where are we?
We're at Marietta College.
This is where we live at Marietta College.
When kids need medical care, they face life-changing experiences. They miss out on the things that make being a kid fun. Starlight Children's Foundation programs entertain and inspire hospitalized kids. Learn more at starlight.org.
Marietta, a place some people call home.
A place of athletes.
A place of discovery.
A place for the future.
Your plan.
Your future.
Go Pios.
The world's first space tourist has signed up to spin around the moon aboard Elon Musk's Starship. For Dennis Tito, it's a chance to relive the joy of his trip 21 years ago to the International Space Station. His week-long moonshot, announced Wednesday, will be years in the future. He'll have company, his wife and 10 others willing to shell out big bucks for the ride. Tito won't say how much he's paying this time. His Russian station flight cost $20 million. Tito is actually the second billionaire to make a Starship reservation for a flight to the moon. A Japanese fashion tycoon previously signed up.
Most pets hate visiting the vet. Now it's becoming a lot more unpleasant for their owners too. America's worst bout of inflation in 4 decades has swollen the cost of your dog or cat's visit to the animal doctor. Prices for vet services have jumped 10% in the past year. Government data shows the biggest such spike on records dating back to 2 decades. The surging cost of veterinary services illustrates how high inflation has spread well beyond physical goods, such as cars that became scarce as the economy accelerated out of the pandemic recession, to numerous services of which pet care is in one example.
It sounds like a rescue out of a Hollywood movie. The U.S. Coast Guard says after a boat holding 3 fishermen sank in the Gulf of Mexico over the weekend. 2 clung to a float made of 2 ice chests as they fought off sharks, while the third swam several miles for help. The third man lucked into a cell phone signal and was able to send a Google map of his location just before his battery died. He was rescued by a helicopter. The 2 in the water were being harassed by 4 black-tip sharks when a Coast Guard boat found them. A Coast Guard seaman says they were too tired to even be panicking. The men suffered deep cuts on their hands, and one is missing the tip of a finger. They were back at home yesterday. A sneak peek at movies coming out this year, next year, and the year after that.
Here's Landon with the Hollywood Minute.
Tar is off to a astoundingly strong start. The Todd Field drama, for which Cate Blanchett won Best Actress at the Venice Film Festival, opened in 4 theaters this weekend and grossed $160,000, an average of $40,000 each. One of the best per theater averages for any film since the pandemic began. Tar opens with a wide release later on this month on October 28th. In other news, even before Knock at the Cabin opens next February, director M. Night Shyamalan has yet another thriller lined up. His 6th film for Universal Studios. No title or plot details have been released as of yet, but we do have a release date, April 5th, 2024. Lucy Lawless is back as investigator Alexa Crowe in My Life is Murder. The new season finds Crowe back in her hometown of Auckland, New Zealand, bringing her unique approach to crime solving to 10 new cases. Season 3 of My Life is Murder premieres this week on Acorn TV. In Hollywood, I'm Landon Santini. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thank you, Landon. Now we'll head to Landon for a look at our extended forecast.
How does it look, Landon?
Well, it looks like I'm doing double duty today, and as you can see as we look at our map of the lovely United States of America, a good chunk of the east of the country, the Mid-East is in particular, is going to be dealing with quite a lot of rainfall. Those south winds that I mentioned earlier are bringing a good chunk of it down from our northern neighbors of Canada through the Great Lakes. And right now it looks like a good chunk of the states on the west side of Ohio are dealing with the majority of the precipitation. But we're going to be dealing with some rainfall later on in this evening, roughly around 7 o'clock, passing through Parkersburg. So our West Virginia neighbors are across the Ohio River are going to be getting the brunt of the rainfall first, but it'll hit us soon afterwards. But we don't have to deal with that for a good chunk of the afternoon. But have your umbrellas ready by the time night falls. As we look into the 5-day forecast, the week will continue with some more of those rain showers continuing on tomorrow, and that'll cause the temperatures to start cooling down with an expected high of 62, cooling down even further by the time the rain stops on Friday with an expected high of 61, and partly sunny conditions begin to break out. But then we'll have another sudden spike in warmness when the weekend begins full swing with a high of 67, more partly sunny conditions, cooling down for the churchgoers on Sunday with an expected high of 60 and a possibility of some more rain, with that possibility causing another cool down continuing on into the beginning of the next work week with an expected high of 50. So for this and the previous week, we've been dealing with cold weekends and close to summer temperatures throughout the week, but it's looking like that pattern will finally start being broken when this upcoming weekend's over and we get into Monday. It's been an enjoyable time to have one last bit of warmth before the leaves start changing, but it's good to know that autumn will be in full swing just in time for Halloween in a few weeks, and that's going to be something everyone's looking forward to. We'll talk a little bit more about that when I come back for the end of the program, but until then, back to you guys at the desk.
Thank you, Landon. When we come back, Hunter will join us for an update from the world of sports.
See you in a few.
James Brown and Bill Cowher welcoming you back to the Midnight Snack Run. This is one tricky obstacle course. He's reaching, but he pushes it away. He's approaching a plate of iced cookies. He blows right by him. Oh, the fridge. Looks like he's headed for the soda. Wait, he jukes left, grabs the water bottle. Now he's just got to get out of there. Look what dropped from the sky. Don't do it, Dennis. That's the way you execute a Midnight Snack Run. Stand Up to Cancer and Rally want you to reduce your risk for cancer. Go to takeahealthystand.org.
Marietta College, home of the pioneers. A small town on the Ohio River with a tight-knit community and tons of opportunity. Find a home here at Marietta College. Bring forth a pioneer.
What are we gonna do? Ta-da! All right. Come on, every pony. Woo!
Liza, I just love how ponies are better together.
Me too. You know, same thing with Girl Scouts, Kamiko. Every day they make each other shine a little brighter.
And they make the world around them a better place. So join Girl Scouts.
And be a part of the friendship and magic.
And now we're back with Hunter for a look at our sports.
What's been happening in the world of sports?
I can give you the rundown right now. After the Chiefs win 30-29 against the Raiders, wide receiver Davante Adams shoved a cameraman as he was leaving the game. Adams later apologized, but it wasn't enough for the amusement park's Worlds of Fun to ban him from the park, due to the announcement stating that Adams hasn't permanently been banned from their park. NASCAR penalized Cole Custer and his team for attempting to help teammate Chase Briscoe gain position on final lap of Sunday's Cup playoff race. NASCAR fined Custer $100,000 and took 50 driver points. Crew chief Michael Shiplett was fined the same amount and suspended indefinitely. Yordan Alvarez wrecked all of Seattle's carefully crafted strategy with one colossal swing. The Mariners came to the postseason with a plan. Down to their last out, the October-tested Houston Astros weren't so easily outmatched. Alvarez smashed a game-ending 3-run homer with 2 outs in the bottom of the 9th inning off Robbie Ray, fooling the Mariners' move to use a Cy Young Award winner in a rare relief role and vaulting the Astros to an 8-7 win Tuesday in their playoff opener. Draymond Green has been fined but won't be suspended by the Golden State Warriors for a violent punch to the face of his teammate Jordan Poole last week. Coach Steve Kerr said after Tuesday's preseason win against Portland that Green will return to practice Thursday. Then a play for the defending NBA champions against Denver on Friday night and again in the season opener Tuesday against the Lakers. Kerr, General Manager Bob Myers, and players have met to decide how the best proceedings include Green and Poole taken to each other, trying to move forward from the situation. For now, that's all I have in the world of sports. I'm Hunter Withrow. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thank you, Hunter. Joining us now at the desk is Landon for our last look at the weather.
Well, to give a quick summary, we're having the warmest day of the week for the majority of the day, but then later on this evening around 7 o'clock into tomorrow, we're going to be experiencing some rain showers, which will cause the temperatures to cool down and kind of fluctuate a little bit as we get into the weekend, with the upcoming beginning of the next work week on Monday with an expected high of 50. So far, the coolest day of the month we've had so far. So it hasn't really felt like autumn, even though it has looked like it outside. The leaves changing colors, brown and orange falling off the trees. Looks absolutely beautiful, but within the next week, it'll finally start feeling like fall in terms of exactly how cold it is outside.
Thanks for joining us for our Wednesday edition of WCMO TV, Channel 15 at 12:30 and 6:30. From all of us here at the station, we wish you a great rest of your week.
Meet Candace. This senior basketball player loves to spend time hanging out before class with her best friend and education major Shelby.